Switching to a hybrid car, hybrid MPG, hybrid maintenance, hybrid battery, regenerative braking, eCVT. If you're switching to a hybrid car, there are 10 things I wish I knew before I did, because hybrids aren't gas cars with better MPG. They're a different ownership experience, and the surprises are usually not where people expect. Let's break this down. If you want to understand cars before you buy them, you're in the right place. Subscribe, because cars aren't complicated, they're just poorly explained. Picture this. You're at a gas station on a random weekday, watching the total climb faster than your patience. You think, I'm done with this. I'm buying a hybrid. You start shopping, and every listing screams the same promise, 45, 50, 55 MPG. And in your head, you're already spending that saved money. Then you buy the hybrid, you drive it for a month, and one of two things happens. Either you love it and wonder why you waited so long, or you get hit with little surprises that make you think, wait, why did nobody mention this part? These are the 10. Number 1, your MPG will depend more on your driving pattern than the batch. This is the first reality check. Hybrids shine in stop-and-go and mixed driving because they can recapture energy while braking, and they can shut the engine off more often. Every time you slow down, you're not just wasting speed as heat in the brakes. The motor can act like a generator and put some of that energy back into the battery. That's the whole game. But on the highway, especially at 75 to 80 miles per hour, the hybrid advantage shrinks, sometimes a lot. Why? Because you're not braking much, so there's less energy to recover, and because at higher speeds, the biggest enemy isn't your engine, it's air. Aerodynamic drag rises fast as speed climbs, and the car has to burn fuel just to punch a hole through the wind. So if your weekly driving is mostly steady highway cruising, a hybrid can still save fuel, but it might not feel like the dramatic jump you pictured from the ads. Here's a question that's worth asking before you buy. How much of my life is actually stoplights, traffic, and low-speed driving versus steady freeway? Because hybrid MPG isn't one number, it's a profile. And a quick tip that sounds silly but works. If you want to know what MPG you'll really get, look for owners who drive your speed, not your city, your speed. Someone doing 65 to 70 gets a different world than someone doing 80 all day. Number 2, cold weather can make you think your hybrid is broken. This catches a lot of people in their first winter. In cold weather, you'll often see lower MPG, the engine running more often, shorter EV-only moments, and slower warm-up efficiency. Why? Because the engine has to warm up to run cleanly and efficiently. The battery is less willing to deliver and accept power when it's cold, and cabin heat usually comes from engine heat in many hybrids. So the car may run the engine just to keep you warm and keep emissions systems happy, even if you're barely moving. This is where people get frustrated. You bought a hybrid to shut the engine off in traffic, but in winter it keeps coming on. Nothing is necessarily wrong. It's physics and emissions strategy. The real tip, compare your winter MPG to other owners in your climate, not to the brochure. If everyone else with your model in your region drops 20% in winter, that's normal. If you drop 40% while others drop 15%, now you investigate. Number 3, your hybrid might rev weird, and it's not a defect, it's the system doing its job. This is where it gets interesting. A lot of hybrids don't behave like the gas cars people grew up with. Under certain acceleration, the engine RPM can rise and hang while speed increases, or the engine can turn on when you don't expect it, or it can sound detached from what your foot is doing. That's especially common in systems that prioritize keeping the engine in an efficient operating zone, while the electric side smooths out the demand. From an engineering perspective, it makes sense. The computer is trying to run the engine where it's happiest, instead of where your ears think it should be. But from a human perspective, it can feel wrong. Your brain expects more pedal equals more RPM equals more speed. Hybrids sometimes give you more pedal equals engine jumps to efficient RPM, speed builds as the system blends power. Some people don't care at all. Some people hate it. I wish I knew this before switching, because it's not something you fix with maintenance. It's something you either accept or you choose a hybrid that has a different feel. The smart move, test drive it on your real route, especially highway passing and hills, because a 10-minute city loop won't reveal this. Find a long incline, roll into the throttle gently and listen. If it annoys you there, it'll annoy you forever. Number 4, CVT and hybrid eCVT are not the same, and confusing them can make you avoid great cars. A lot of people hear CVT and panic, and honestly, some belt and pulley CVTs earned that reputation. But many mainstream hybrids, especially Toyota-style systems, use an eCVT that is mechanically very different from belt CVTs. It's often a power split transaxle with a planetary gear set and motor generators, not a belt slipping between cones. So when you're shopping hybrids and someone says, "Avoid it, it's a CVT," you need to ask what type, because the reliability story can be completely different depending on the actual design. Here's the practical ownership takeaway. Some hybrid transaxles are among the least dramatic transmissions in the real world, but they still need correct fluid and correct cooling. Lifetime fluid doesn't mean immortal fluid. It means we don't want to talk about maintenance. So when you buy used, it's fair to ask, has the transaxle fluid ever been changed, even once? If the answer is no idea, you just learned something about the previous owner. Number 5, regenerative braking changes how the car feels, and it changes how you should drive it. Regenerative braking means the electric motor helps slow the car and recovers energy. So that means brake pads last longer, rotors can last longer, and there's less brake dust. So people assume hybrid brakes are always cheaper. But there's a feel difference that surprises new hybrid drivers. The first part of the pedal travel can be regen heavy, then friction brakes blend in. Good systems make this seamless. Some systems feel grabby or inconsistent until you get used to it. And here's a real-life surprise. If you're used to late braking, you might not get the regen benefit you think you're getting. Hybrids reward smooth, early braking because that maximizes regen and reduces friction brake use. The car is basically saying, drive like you're carrying a cup of coffee with no lid. That's how you get the numbers. So yes, the hybrid can save you money, but it asks you to adjust your rhythm to get the full benefit. Number 6, brakes last longer until the expensive braking part doesn't. This is the part people don't like hearing. Some hybrids use more complex brake-by-wire systems, electronic boosters, or actuators that can be pricey if they fail, depending on model and generation. Most of the time, you'll go years with no drama, but when those components act up, it can feel like the car has brake issues even though your pads still look new. So yes, you may save on pads, but you should still pay attention to brake feel consistency, warning lights, and whether the car has a history of brake system service bulletins in the years you're shopping. On a test drive, ask yourself, does the pedal feel the same at every stop? Or do you sometimes get a soft feel, sometimes a grabby feel, sometimes a pump noise that cycles too often? Hybrids are smart, but they are also systems. Systems have expensive parts. Number 7, a hybrid battery usually doesn't fail suddenly, but you can still buy one that's already tired. Here's what nobody tells you clearly. Hybrid batteries usually age gradually. What that looks like in real life, MPG slowly drops, the engine runs more often, the battery charge gauge swings faster, EV-only moments become shorter, and eventually you may get warning lights if it gets bad enough.
The trap is buying a used hybrid where the battery is already weak but not yet screaming with codes. Sellers love that zone because the car still runs fine and the dashboard isn't yelling, but you're buying the decline. So if you're switching to a hybrid by buying used, I wish I knew to watch battery behavior on a longer drive, not just no lights on. Do a mixed test drive, low-speed neighborhood driving, a few stop-and-go sections, a steady cruise, then a moderate acceleration. If the battery gauge drops like a rock and the engine constantly runs to charge it back up, that's not automatically a deal breaker, but it's a clue. And no, battery replacement isn't automatically a financial apocalypse, but it is real money, and it should be part of your plan if you're buying older. Number 8, the battery cooling system matters more than most owners realize. This is one of the most overlooked hybrid facts. Many hybrids cool the battery using air pulled from the cabin through an intake vent and a fan. If that vent is blocked or the fan is clogged with dust and pet hair, the battery runs hotter. Heat is the enemy of battery life. So if you have pets or you carry dusty stuff, or the previous owner did, that cooling fan can get nasty. And here's what's wild. The car might still drive fine while the battery is being cooked slowly. It's not dramatic, it's just accelerated aging. I wish I knew how simple this is. Keep the intake clear, Don't bury it under bags and jackets, and consider cleaning the fan at sensible intervals if the design is known to clog. It's one of those small effort, big payoff maintenance items that almost nobody does until there's a warning light. Number 9. The 12-volt battery can cause hybrid weirdness and make you blame the wrong thing. Hybrids still have a normal 12-volt battery that runs computers, lights, and control modules. The high-voltage battery doesn't usually power everything directly. The 12V system is still the wake up and think battery. When that 12V battery gets weak, the car can throw odd warnings, behave inconsistently, or feel glitchy, especially after sitting. A lot of people assume any warning on a hybrid equals hybrid battery failure. Sometimes it's just the 12V being tired. So if your hybrid starts acting weird, random warnings, weird startup behavior, electronics acting flaky, don't ignore the simple stuff. The 12V battery is one of the cheapest ways a hybrid can scare you. Number 10. Hybrid maintenance isn't nothing, it's just different, and skipping it gets expensive. This is the mechanic truth. A hybrid still has engine oil changes, filters, coolant services, spark plugs at the recommended interval, brake fluid service, tires and alignments, and suspension wear like any other car. Some hybrids also have inverter or electronics coolant loops. Some have electric AC compressors that require correct service practices and the correct oil. This is a big one because the wrong AC service on certain hybrids can become an expensive mistake. And transaxle fluid matters even if the manufacturer doesn't shout about it. Fluid still ages from heat cycles and wear particles, even in very durable designs. The biggest mistake I see is people buying a hybrid because it's reliable, then using that as an excuse to do the bare minimum. Hybrids tolerate neglect better than some cars, but neglect still wins eventually. Reliability isn't a force field, it's just a head start. And here's a bonus truth inside this point. Your tires can hit your MPG harder than you expect. Put sticky, heavy tires on a hybrid and watch your MPG drop. Put low rolling resistance tires on and it comes back. Your hybrid isn't only an engine and battery, it's a whole machine that has to roll. Number 11. Yeah, I'm cheating with an extra because this one is pure financial reality. The financial win depends on what you paid, not just what you save on fuel. People switch to a hybrid thinking fuel savings alone will pay for it. But if you paid a huge premium, especially in a hot market, your break-even might be years longer than you plan to keep the car. Here's the simple way I wish I calculated it. Take the extra price you paid for the hybrid compared to a similar non-hybrid. Then estimate your real fuel savings per year based on your actual driving. Hybrid premium divided by yearly savings equals rough break-even years. So if you paid $4,000 extra and you save $500 a year, that's an 8-year break-even before you even talk about interest, insurance, or resale. If you keep cars a long time and drive a lot, hybrids often make great financial sense. If you trade often and drive low miles, the hybrid can still be worth it, but it may be more of a comfort and preference purchase than a strict money win. And that's fine, just don't get tricked by the story. So here's the real takeaway after switching to a hybrid. A good hybrid is one of the easiest ways to reduce fuel cost without changing your life, but it rewards the right driving pattern and it punishes unrealistic expectations. If you're buying one soon, the 2 smartest things you can do are simple. Test drive it on your real commute conditions, not the dealership loop, and shop maintenance history harder than the badge, because the best hybrid isn't the one with the highest MPG claim, it's the one that fits your life so well you forget you're even managing a drivetrain. If you tell me what hybrid you're switching to, whether you drive mostly city or highway, and whether you're buying new or used, I'll tell you which of these matters most for your exact situation, and what to look for on the test drive so you don't learn it the expensive way.